reality sample collection, without coming up with a draft, you cannot be able to carry out all those tests. Can everyone hear me? Let's start from there. Can you hear me? Just text anything. So, as I was saying, before you carry out anything to do with these guys are saying about fraud detection, test of controls, audit sampling, you have first of all to come up with a draft which we were making yesterday. From there, you can now undertake you can now perform the materiality. From there, you can now come up with a sample from which you can able to get the data. From there, you can also come up with an audit sampling. So, without knowing how to come up with a draft, all this will be impossible for you. So, let's go one step at a time. So, without much further ado, today I've given you a simple example, which we'll be looking at. Let me share my screen. Today, this is a simple one. This, in fact, you can never find this in a real practical example because this is quite easy. This one can be, so that's why I want to bring at least the most easiest thing before you handle the difficult things, because if you can't handle the easy things, the difficult will be a bit, it will be the elephant in the room. So stay attentive. First of all, understand how to come up with a draft. From there, you'll look at the other part. You don't even need the theory part, because if you understand the practical aspect, the theory will be flowing. So I believe you got the concept, the if function which you were working on yesterday. So I'll just do the first if function and the second one, and then I drag the formula. So I hope today I will not dwell so much on this if formula, which we'll be using for coming up with an extended trial balance. This is now the trial balance for the accountant, which I've marked in yellow. Let me just mark it in yellow so that you can be able to see it, to differentiate between the trial balance which you have been provided for, and then we are coming up with an extended trial balance. In case of any journals which you are going to pass, we are going to pass on this column. So we don't interfere with anyone's information or trial balance. So this is the column that we'll be passing in case we have any journals that we are going to pass. So without much further ado, let's work on the if function. So we said yesterday, we just come here, if, then we use the two brackets like that. So the debit plus the corresponding debits. Then you subtract credit with the corresponding credit. I hope today we'll be able to move a bit faster because of time. In case of any question, just share in the chats. I'll be able to respond to it. So you use the greater than sign. You put a 0 because we want the exact match. You close there. You close using a comma. Then you repeat the same process once again without now the brackets. If you try to put the brackets, those are guys who are getting the error yesterday. So you just come up with the debit, you subtract, you add with the corresponding debit. Then you subtract the credits with the corresponding credit. Like that. Once you've done that, you close using a comma. Then you put a 0 because you want an exact match. This is the formula. Ensure you have this formula with you. I want to press enter. Once I close the brackets, I'll now press enter to be able to pick the amount. So is there any question or clarification in one of you will need to just check on the formula before I press enter? So I think most of you got the formula yesterday. So if I press enter, this is a value I'm getting. I can see Sherilyn on the same page. At least today, guys are getting the concept. The document has been shared in the group. Kindly have a look at it. There's a document which I've shared in the group. We are coming up with a draft, and I'll be able to, it's a small one, so I want to explain a bit more of tax. You will get much time, but let's focus on this first. So there was a person who was able to share it yesterday on this meeting chat. Someone can share it across so that guys who have not been able to see it can just click on it and we proceed. Kindly, as they share, so we wait for, anyone can share in the meeting chats. I'm repeating the same formula here so that if you are not able to get the debits, the credit is opposite of what we did in the credit's opposite of what we did in the debits. So this is the formula. If you want to know the formula, just press F2. I'll just press F2. You see the formula, it's here. I'm waiting for someone to share the Excel in the group, in these meeting chats, so that some people like Everastas can be able to view it from the meeting chats. Kindly, anyone? So as we wait, yeah, Purity has been able to post it, so we can now proceed. So the same formula, we are going to do the reverse way of debit. So we're going to use the if function, two brackets. So we're using the credit, you add with the corresponding credit. It's the opposite of what we did in the debit. So then we subtract using the debit with the corresponding debit. Sorry, I'm taking the underscore instead of the negative. So you close using the first bracket. You can see the first bracket, you use the two brackets, but this one you're closing using one bracket. So after that, you use the greater than sign. The greater than sign is usually on your right hand. So if you want to know the greater than sign, it's a right hand side. That's a value if true, as shown there. So we want an exact match. So you just put a 0, then you close using a comma like that. You repeat the same process once again. So you start with the credits, you add with the corresponding credit. Then you subtract debit with the corresponding debit. Once you're done that, you close using a comma, then you put a 0 because you need an exact match. Because if it's greater than 0, it will move to the debit side. That's why we are using the greater than sign. Anything less than less than 0, it will shift either to the debit or to the credit. So we close the formula using a bracket like that. So you press enter. I hope now you've gotten the concept. Mine is, Anita is saying, mine keeps saying we found a typo on your formula. Just have a look at this before I proceed. You can just take a screenshot of the formula, then maybe you can try it out, because I think you want to do a bit more today. Just take a screenshot of the formula, then you try it out. I got a negative for attends is saying I got a negative for debit. You can't get a negative. Just check your formula. So let me repeat this one. This is the last attempt that I'm doing. So just for TSC, let's do it once again. If double brackets like that. So I'm going and taking the debit. I add to the corresponding debit, which is 0. We don't have anything. Then I subtract credit with the corresponding credit. Once I am done, I close using the first comma. I use a greater than sign because I need the value to be more than 0. If it's not more than 0, it will shift allegiance to the credit side. So I put a 0. Once Anita, I've noticed your error is on the, you should close using 1 bracket, not 2. That's why you're getting that error. It's 1 bracket after J3. So I close using a comma. I repeat the same process once again. Debit, I add corresponding debit. Then I subtract credit using the corresponding credit. Then I close using a comma. I put a 0 because I don't want any value. I don't want to find a figure of a credit, negative on any of these, either debit or credit. If it's a credit, we shift the allegiance to the debit. If it's a debit with a credit, they shift the allegiance to the credit. So that's why you are putting the greater than and exact match. So once I put you can see this one should be only 1 bracket, not 2. So once I press enter, I'm getting the figure. So once I've done that, just double click on it. If it's not picking, you just drag the formula downwards. If it doesn't pick once you double click it, you just drag the formula downwards. You can see that this one was able to pick. So once you come to the tail end, you use a formula. You can see here we are using the round sum. This is another formula. It's a bit technical, but for in our case, just press Alt equal sign. Then you press enter. The way you were taught when you are doing the sum ifs. So you can see it tallies what we have here. So if it doesn't tally, you have to repeat it once again and make the necessary corrections. So let me make it a bit presentable. I want to put it in Times Romans. So let me just put Times Romans. Font size should be 11, 12. So that is what is expected of you. From now you can come up with that balance. As we did yesterday, we start with the appendix, which I believe you got it from yesterday's class. So the first, as I told you in yesterday's class, this appendix will not find them in any of the published accounts, because this is more, this information is a bit sensitive to the general public. So this one will rarely find it. The only one that will find it is only the statement of profit or loss, or what we usually call a statement of comprehensive income. So without much ado, we can now start filling in each of the following. Today I'm using only one year, because maybe yesterday I was confusing some of you. At least today you will now understand the difference of using 2 years and 1 year. So if the company was open during the year, you can see if it's less than 12 months, we are using for the period. if it was more than 12 months, it was 12 months, we could be using for the year end. So understand that's difference. So since there's no any question, the link that we are using is just pressing the equal sign. Then you go to your trial balance, the extended one, then you copy and paste. And then for a quick one, for yesterday's class, any P&L item on the credit side, this should be an income. Any debit side, this should be, all these are expenses or cost of sales, and these are incomes from what you learned from your financial reporting, introduction to financial, all those. I don't need to repeat those. So let me just, we'll start working with the P&L items. So for sales, you can see the sales is here. So you just click using the formula for sales, just come here, click, you put an equal sign, you go to the trial balance. And then you paste it. Okay, James, don't know whether I have the rights of allowing guys to share. Is there any pressing issue which you caused? Let me see whether I can be able to give rights. I think you can, once I'm done, I can, you can share in a different platform so that I can be able to have a look at it. I don't think so I have the right for, I don't have the rights for sharing. So just bear with me for now, and we continue. I'll be able to see it later, just so just bear with me for now. So for these sales, there could be in a note, because maybe you have multiple sales, maybe multiple incomes. So there are multiple incomes in your, let's say you have multiple income, you have to come up with a note to explain how did you arrive with that income. So in our case, it's a small an example. This example is a bit, it's an easy one, so we will not come up with a note for sales. We go to the next item, which is cost of sales. Cost of sales, you come here and we come here and now we pick the purchases. Just click on the equal sign and go to your trial balance and you search for cost of sales. This is the figure. Then you press enter. I hope now I've not left anyone behind. If I leave you behind today, it will not be, it will be a bit tricky because you need to go to the next stage at least. So I go back for the admin expenses. I just pick all these here. All these are expenses. I just go to the P&L, audit fee. I come and put an equal sign. I go to the trial balance, search for audit fee. I click on it, I press enter. I want the bank charges. I click on an equal sign. I go to the trial balance. I look for bank charges. Here are the bank charges. Once I click on it, you can see the cell is active, and you should pick on the column that is white, not any other, not the one in yellow. Okay, there's this question from Matezi. Just please take a pic of your credit side formula. Okay. So let me press enter before This one, let me take a pic of this there. Formula for the credit side. Just pick the formula so that we may proceed. I hope we are done. It's just taking a photo and then we proceed. It's been recorded. I hope you have received that notification for recording. So we move to the secretary fee. You come here and you equal sign and click on the secretary fee, press enter. License and permits, you check whether you have license and permits. So you just go here, check, we do, yeah, here the license and permit. Once you click on it, you press enter. Office expense, just go to the office expenses. Here it is, highlight on it, ensure the cell is active, and then you press enter. The same will apply to electricity and water bills. Just put an equal sign, go to the trial balance, search for it. It should fall under gas and electricity. So you just click on it and you press enter. Depreciation will be able to calculate it later. So these are all your total expenses. And for this, ensure your formula has picked each and every item. So you can see the formula is there. The formula again is just Alt Control. Alt equals, sorry. Just click on Alt equals, it will be able to pick each and every item. Then you press enter. So once you click on it, you just come here and you now post cost of sales. Cost of sales should be a cash outflow, so should be a negative sign. So equal sign, you come here and pick the value for closing cost of sales. So click on it and you press enter. The same thing for admin, equal sign, negative, and you pick it like that. Then you press enter. You can see this is a loss for the year, not a profit. So you change here, should be loss for the year. The same thing here. You remove the profit, should be loss after tax. Any question? I hope you're on the same page. Today is an easy one, not expecting, so it's a straightforward one. So let me remove this. It picked the formula a bit early, so let me just remove it. Oh, Jabir is saying repeat, Robert, repeat. Where should I repeat? Kindly clarify so that I can repeat it. Where should I repeat? Okay, so you can remove the figures that in the notes. I forgot to remove those figures so that you can see how you're arriving at those figures. So these ones I was able to pick them from the trial balance, all these figures. I was going to the trial balance, checking if it's audit fee, I put an equal sign, I go to the trial balance, I click on it, ensure the cell is active, and I press enter. I did all the same for all these items. So once I tallied, because this is the sum total of all the admin expenses, is 51,497. Once you get the total, thanks, I can see James has been able to get it right. So once you get the total, you transfer the figures here to now the statement of profit or loss. So you just click come here and equal sign, a negative since it's a cash outflow. You go to the cost of sales, you click on it and you press enter. Amos, I think there's something unhidden. Just unhide everything so that you can now remove that error. If you just go here and unhide, there's some information which is here, which has been hidden. So just click unhide. You'll see there are some, maybe some errors or some reference here. So if you unhide, you remove those, and then you'll be able now to get the actual figures. I hope I've responded to your question, Amos. We need to move a bit faster. It's a good example. It's not a difficult one, so we should move a bit faster. Any other question? Have I answered all those questions? Can we proceed? So I think there's no any other question. We should proceed because I need today you sleep a bit early. So let me do a bit faster because after total expenses, now you transfer the figure to the statement of profit and loss. You can see here we have appendix 1 and you have statement of profit and loss. Let me divide it. I think once I divide it, you'll now be able now to understand it. Let me put a page break. Page layout. I need to set a page break. I want to set my page break there. So you can see these are 2 pages. This means these are different pages from this. So don't think that they are in the same. These should be a different. This statement of profit or loss, and this is the appendix, and they should not go. They should be in different pages. How do we transfer? If you want to transfer, you just come here and put an equal sign and you press negative, because you can see this is a positive figure and this is an outflow. So you just come here and click on it, ensure the cell is active, and you press enter. That's how you usually transfer. Where did you get the cost of sales? Cost of sales, let me repeat once again. Just come here, click on it, equal sign, go to the trial balance. Cost of sales is here. From the trial balance is at 2,071,071. So just click on it, press and transfer. If you want to transfer the cost of sales, as I repeated, just come here, press an equal sign, a negative. Now you go to cost of sales and you press it. So ensure the cell is active, then you press enter. I hope I've responded to all those questions. So remember, these are 2 pages. It's not 1. This is just to make you understand it better. This should be the second last page. Selena, I think this one I'll be able to show you once we are done with this. Let's go one step at a time. And you can see there's also this margin. We need to calculate, I believe from your financial advanced financial report, advanced financial management, you are able to do these margins and margins. So we need to know, once you're advising the client, you have to come up with this and understand which is the margin required. But this is a bit deep. Those one will just understand the basics. Let me just put at that, just understand the basics. So we can now go to the notes. You don't go to the balance statement of financial position without working on the notes. So once you're done with the notes, these figures you now transfer to the statement of financial position or the balance sheet. So let's jump into it. So, because this was, as I told you, this was a company which was formed during the year. That's why you can see it's for the period, not for the year. That's why you don't have here cost as at 1st of January. This was formed during the year, so we'll have an addition. So you just come here, because the addition, you just put an equal sign, you go to the trial balance. From the trial balance, our assets are usually, non-current assets are usually on the debit side. I believe I can hear someone has unmuted himself. Kindly unmute so that we can all be on the same page. Oh, kindly unmute. Let me see who's Gladys. Kindly unmute yourself. Mute yourself, sorry, so that you will not interrupt with the rest. Gladys, we are waiting for you to mute. Kindly mute yourself so that we can proceed. Because in case of any, I don't want you guys to cause any interference when I'm explaining this concept. So now we proceed with the notes. So the notes, any asset that you purchased during the year should be on the debit side. Kindly mute yourself. Kindly mute. The person who was unmute, please. You can unmute yourself once you are done with this question so that you can move a bit faster. So back to the notes. Before I was let me ask the guy to mute everyone. Just give me a minute. Hello, sorry for that. There were some background noises which were coming in between. So let's, I hope you were able to reach where I am during that short break. So, so as I told you, before you post anything in the balance sheet, you have to come up with a note. So the notes is what we are working on. So we go to a trial balance, and you can see there was an addition of a computer equipment. So you come here and click on it, ensure the cell is active, and you press enter. Once you press enter, it has self-calculated itself, because as we calculated yesterday, the depreciation rate as per the board. This is usually decided by the board of management or directors. They usually refer to the board. So these you usually take there. Just come here and click. You can see there was nothing. There was no opening depreciation. So you can see this one should be as at. Let me change this one so that this one should be as at January 2021, but this company was opened during the year, so we don't have anything here. That's why you can see it's already hidden. The same thing here, because this depreciation for the year, if you click on it, it should be the cost minus depreciation, the opening depreciation during the year. Out of that, now you use the rates which have been provided with, so to calculate the depreciation for the year. So since it was formed during the year, we usually hide that part. So this figure is the one that we usually take it to the profit and loss or the appendix. So you just come with me here. There's a place of depreciation. So you just press equal sign, you go to the notes, and you pick it. In this, you don't pick anything manually. If you pick anything manually, that will call for fraud, and that I believe is one of those concepts that one of you was asking about. It's in the syllabus. So if you want to detect fraud, is once you see any manual figure which has been input into your draft. So let me check, is there any question? Okay, I think now today most of you are up to date. Things are a bit easy, so we can just proceed. So it's the same thing for cash in hand. You just come here and you search for cash in hand. Cash in hand is the first item in the trial balance. So you just come, ensure the cell is active, you press enter. And you go to the bank balance, you just come here, press equal sign, you go to the trial balance. You can see it's Paramount Bank. You press ensure the cell is active and you press enter. You will get, for you to get the total cash and cash equivalent, you just come and press Alt equal sign. The Alt is down there on your keyboard. It's called ALT. Then you press on equal sign, it will be able to pick. Or you can just auto sum. Using this auto sum, it's one and the same thing. So for trade and other receivables, you just come here, press an equal sign, and you go to the trial balance to search for these data. And I told you in the balance sheet, all the assets are usually on the debit side. So you just come, you can see it's here. Ensure the cell is active, you press enter. There's no any question. I think we are good. Prepayment, the same thing. Equal sign, go to the trial balance, search for any debit item which is there. Okay, I'll go back in a few. So you can see there are two items here. This is what usually called the VAT. Once you see the tax account, sales tax is the same as the VAT. This amount of VAT refundable during the year. That one I'll be able to explain it a bit deeper once you come for the iTax classes. So just understand anything to do with the tax account, that's VAT. This once you see anything VAT on the debit side, that's a refund. So you just click on it, because we have several items on the debit side. So you pick each and every item. So you go and pick the other one like that. Jamir is saying I repeat on fixed assets. Where in particular? Because here I just came and picked the addition during the year, which was this one. The value for other, we have not even reached there, and the value for other payables and accruals, we are in the we are on the receivables. iTax classes, you will be told it is on the, in December there'll be iTax classes, which I'll be able to be part of it, and I'll be able to explain much deeper about the VAT. So there's any question, prepayments. So prepayments, the prepayments here are only the VAT. You can see the tax account, taxes, all these are VAT. Then you add this advanced customer payment. This means the customer paid more than what he or she was expected to pay, or maybe he paid and you never retrieved you never generated you never booked that payment. That's why you can see it's an overpayment. That's now you have to have those controls in check. I believe those are one of the items which you were saying about the test of controls. Those are the controls that you have to check once you are doing that audit. Whether these they are being in time, the person who is handling, whether there is any segregation of duties. Those are what we usually. Advance payment is the payment which the customer or the client has paid more than what he was supposed to pay, or he paid earlier. Maybe you have paid, let's say the SGR. Once you want to go to Mombasa, you have to pay in advance before the due date. That is what we usually call advance payment. Yeah, at least now you've gotten the concept. Yeah, so for creditors, the same thing. Go, eco-sign. Those are other receivables, repayments and other receivables. That's how we treated it at AC. So for sundry debtors, you just come here. All your creditors and liabilities are usually on the credit side. So just come here and pick, press enter like that. And then other payables, you just come here and you pick them accordingly. You can see all these provisions. This is the, you can see for this advance payment, maybe the accountant never made a provision. You can see there is a provision. If you don't make any provision, you will have once I make a payment, it will be debited. And if you have not made the provision right, now you can see it is overstated. That's an error which some of the accountants usually do. So those are the controls, which some of you have been asking about. My formula is correct. Just to autofill the formula. Which formula, Jacqueline? Kindly repeat it. I'm not getting the question. It's not coming out clear. Just repeat the question once again. The one we have entered. Let me just redo that statement once again. So I think it's this one for prepayment and other receivables. So I just put an equal sign. I go to these items. This is the VAT as explained. Because there are two items, I want to use the simplest formula. So I just click on it, I add plus this. Then I press enter because there are two items. There's this question from Alan. What about miscellaneous expenses and excess duty? For miscellaneous expenses, you should clearly explain these miscellaneous expenses because it will not go well with the tax guys who will be handling. In case they find a miscellaneous, you have to provide so much information. So for miscellaneous, you have to, they are all included in the P&L, the same as excess duty. Excess duty, you will combine them with the bank charges. Those are bank charges. So you find excess duty, bank charges, usually combine them together when they are all in the P&L. So we need to wrap it up. So we go to other accruals. So accruals, we just pick the first, and if there are several, you just click on this, and then you add. Because there are several, you add. There are two. In fact, there are only two. So you press enter. Then you go and check whether there's a director balance. Press equal sign. You go to the tree balance. A director is there. You press enter. You get your. So if you want to get the balance, you just come and alter, enter. Is the one that is stated alter ALT. Then you press equal sign, Alt Control. So once you click on Alt Control, you press enter, it will be able to give you the actual, the sum total. Just rephrase your question again, James Hannington. These miscellaneous expenses are vague one, but I wonder why is it used? It depends. You have to support the miscellaneous expenses. But I usually advise guys not to use anything to do with miscellaneous. It will cause eyebrows, and those will be one of those key areas. Once the tax guy come over to your office, they'll be looking at, or maybe those guys for the monitoring those standards, the iceberg guys, they'll concentrate on these areas. This is an area where most guys usually hide most of the information. So avoid these miscellaneous expenses, just break them down. There's this question from Mateus, expenses that you are not classifying in expenses that you cannot classify in one vote head. Any similar expenses, just try and cluster them in one vote head, at least to avoid so many expenses. So let's concentrate on this. So taxation, I told you there's a lot to do with taxation. For this case, you just go and see what is in the trial balance. Trial balance will be given in tax. The trial balance, there's no any withholding. There's no any withholding and there's no tax in this case. So we ignore that for the meantime, since I don't want to go deeper in taxation for today. I just want you to understand the concept. So for equity, let's delete these figures first. So if the company was formed during the period let's say the company was formed, this is the first year for coming up with a draft. If it was the second year or third year, you will come up a balance as at 1st of January 2021. But in this case, you can see it was formed during the year. So you usually come and say shares subscribed during the year. We are doing summarize the link, know that interconnecting, but which one can we start with? Note, yeah, the same thing that we were using in the P&L. You come up, once you given the draft, you come and fill the appendix. From appendix, you now feed the statement of profit and loss. For balance sheet, you first of all fill all the information in the notes. So this information is now transferred to the balance sheet. The same thing with the equity. You don't feed the balance sheet before you complete the notes, because now from the notes, you transfer the figures to the balance sheet. So equity, the shared. So all information will provided first is just to transfer. Yeah, once you ensure you pick the right information first before you transfer. If you pick the wrong information, you'll get it wrong. So for shares subscribe during the year, you just go to share capital. So you go to the trial balance, you check the share capital are usually on the credit side. So you press and you equal sign and then you pick profit for the year. This should be loss for the year. So just change it to be loss for the year. So loss for the year, it was, you go to the P&L. The P&L was this one. You take loss after tax or profit after tax. You press and that should be, you should not pick profit before tax. You should pick profit or loss for the year. So take note of that. Come again, I don't understand the question that you're asking, Jacqueline. So, and then here, I think there was an office expense. The question was, hey, you are typing a bit fast, and just read. The question was the link to the formula provided. If there's any figures, you just remove them so I can show you how you are able to get those figures. Because once I was editing, maybe some formulas, I never removed all the information. So maybe this, like when I went to equity, there were some figures. So we just remove them and then we fill it again. Atenzi, you're lost here in profit and loss. Profit and loss, you take either profit or loss after tax, or what we usually call the profit after tax and profit for the bottom line. For most big companies like Kenya Airways, you'll hear saying about the bottom line or the balance sheet or the, yeah, usually referred as the bottom line. So I believe from your FR, you should understand this concept. It was not just a matter of you good in the theory, but you should now go and do the practical. So this is the usually pick profit after tax or loss after tax. Try and understand this first before you first understand the simple thing before now you go and do the difficult things. Mine did not pick the totals in the share capital. If it doesn't pick, you just come here and you auto sum. Auto sum is here. Just come the same thing, auto sum. And if it's not picking the formula, just highlight it and you go to formula. And you check whether it's manual or automatic. If it's a manual, you take it to automatic so that you can be able to pick. That's why it's not picking once you're using that formula. I believe I've answered your question. So I think now you're done. You can now go to before we continue to the balance sheet, is one item which you never picked and it cannot go to asset, so we can take it to office expense. This item was a tool, so we add to the office expense. There's an item here of 5,000. This is a small figure. We can put it as an asset, so we can put it as an office expense, so it can increase our expenses. How did we get the loss for the year? The loss for the year is here. From the statement of losses, we have the sales, you have the cost of sales, we got the gross profit. Then we subtracted the admin expenses. So let's go to the balance sheet so that we can balance it, and now we can do the cash flows. So for PPE, we just go to the notes, pick directly. This there, you pick the net book value, not the cost. Note that the net book value, not the cost. Inventory, this one will pick up later on because it doesn't affect the balance sheet. Trade and other receivables, you now link it to the notes. You go to note 5. Note 5 is here. We pick the total figure. Press enter. Cash and cash equivalent. Equal sign. You go to note 4. So this one we are transferring the figures in the notes. Let me just, because Charlene is now lost again. Let me just repeat the process. So you just put an equal sign, you transfer the figures from the notes. So in our first case, you take the net book value, equal sign, and then you place that cell that has the net book value and then press enter. The figure I have for loss for the year, Mohammed, is I think you check your figures right, because we don't have any figure for, we don't have such a figure here in the trial balance. Kindly recheck, because I told you cost of sales is a cash outflow and should be negative. If you put a positive figure like this, it will give you 3 million. That's the error that you're having, Mohammed. So this one should be a negative. So you shall subtract. I can see most of you forgot your FRC after you passed your paper. So kindly go back and have a look at it. Chirono, why is it? Yes, that's why I was asking about the published accounts, prepare notes, equity, transfer. Yeah, that's the way we should go. So I think now you've gotten the concept. We are transferring now the paid and other receivables from note 5. Note 5 is here, it is the balances, the center, cash and cash equivalent. Go to note 4, check the balances here, then enter. You can see now the total asset at the end of the year, we have this figure. This one is speaking before its time, so we should, our total assets and total liabilities should be equal. So let's work on the equity and liabilities. This is the correct presentation as per IFRS 10. I believe even if you are done with the IFR, still remember IFRS 10, because this is the standard that guide us in coming up with a draft. So the cash share capital, you go to equity, pick the figure at the bottom, balance as at the year end. So that's the figure that you're picking. For reserves, you come to the equity side, you pick retained earnings at the bottom, the totals. So you can see we have this. For trade and other payables, you go to note 5, should be not note 5, it should be note 6. So you can change here. This one should be note 6, not note 5. You can even link it to note 6. Remove the negative. Then taxation, you can link it to the note. Taxation should be note 7. So you just come here and do the necessary changes. That is note 7, this is note 8. So once you go to the balance sheet, you link it to note 6. So you go to the note and transfer the figures, the total figures from the notes. Equal sign, then you click on the totals, then you press enter. It transfers the figures. Taxation, put an equal sign, go to the notes, note 7. The final figure, click on it, then you press enter. So you can see you have picked each and every item. At least now we have a difference. If you don't have a difference in trial balance, at least now you can know you have missed out on something. You go back to the trial balance and trace where you missed a figure or something which was not picked. Was it the depreciation? Let's check whether depreciation was picked. We need to ensure it's tallying. You don't have any difference. So you can divide by 2 to know the figure which is missing out. So we go back to the notes, check whether all figures have been captured. So check the totals. All the totals are okay. Good. Once you check all the totals are okay, you go to the balance, check whether everything has been picked. If you not picked anything, you know there is the missing point and you have to include it. So for expenses, you can see for expenses I'm getting 56. Go to the balance sheet and you add without the depreciation. You can see it's a sterling, then you have the depreciation there. Mine, oh, let me check. Maybe it's balancing. How? Let me redo this once again. Should be this plus this. Let me add this 591. How is yours balancing, Jacqueline? You suppose, Alan, how is yours balancing? What did we miss out on this? It's a small figure. And then let me check. 602, 58. This one okay. 58. Yeah. You have a difference of a small figure which we should trace and see. Add miscellaneous. Oh, these small figures, we missed out on this. Oh, you should add these figures. But the difference is quite small. And then the bank charges, yeah. We missed, I think there are some figures which we missed out. 56. How comes I missed out these small figures? Miscellaneous expenses, you can put them under office expense. Bank charges is here, so you can say bank charges. I think I missed out on these small figures. The small figures of excess duty and miscellaneous expenses. Oh, yeah, and then bank charges. Bank charges should be, I missed out on these bank charges. You have bank charges of 4,000. So I believe now it has balanced. Yeah. You now, once you balance, now you go to the cash flow. There is a formula for checking whether you've picked everything. So let me go back and show you the formula. For me, what I usually do once I do such a thing, I usually come here, I put a sum, the one which you showed in the previous class. So you just come here and put all the expenses like this. Then you press enter. Then you come here and now you pick all these. Let me just come here and press this figure and press enter. Now you just check the difference, where the difference is coming from. So this one minus this. You will now know you've missed out on something. So you go back to see where where you've missed out. That's the easiest way, rather than now going back and forth to identify where you've missed out on some of these things, like these miscellaneous. If you are tried, you'll find the XSDT miscellaneous expenses, but in our case, we don't want to open so many expenses. So we combined miscellaneous with office expenses. So we just go to, you pick these small expenses and you combine them together. So this one, I combine it here, and then bank charges, I'll combine it with excess duties, excess charges, which is this, and then I combine with the other one for bank charges, which is 4,000. Once I get that figure, it balances in equation. So from there, we just come up with the cash flow. Cash flow, it's a straightforward thing from yesterday's class. So if it's the first year cash flow, there's not much is required of you. So let me remove all this so that you can let's work with 2021, since you've been working with 2021. So the cash flow loss brought forward, you go to the profit before tax, or the loss before tax. This one should be loss before tax. I'll adjust it for easy understanding. Loss before taxation. We can see some of you have decided to unmute. Let me go back and mute guys. Okay, I think I've muted everyone, so we may proceed. So, as I was telling you, for cash flow, you pick the first item should be a profit or loss before tax. For depreciation, just go to the notes and pick the figure as it is, which is 2,000. Trade receivables, so this one should be negative from the FR class. The inventory we don't have, for the payables should be inflow. So you go to the notes and you add. Where is that payable? You add. So we were able to purchase a ATR during the year. That's a cash outflow. We subtract. What else was capital injection? Yeah, we had a share capital introduced during the year. So we go to share capital, we click on it. Once you click on it, cash and cash equivalent for the year should tally with what is in your balance sheet. So if I go to the balance sheet, I just take this 66, I subtract with cash and cash equivalent, which is this one. It's 0. Bank charges. There's this question from Alan. Bank charges. So I've captured it here. I was able to capture it, and bank charges. Now the bank charges are 64.65. there's a formula for just come here and just put an equal sign. You say sum. I believe this concept you learned in your previous lessons. You go to the trial balance and you sum each figure like that. Then you close the bracket and you press enter. That's a shortcut. Then you come here and you take the figure across from here. Let me undo this. So you just come here and pick this figure. Then out of that, now you'll now come and check the difference from this.